Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 3. The title of our episode is Your Best Selling Product May Be Hurting Your Business. Now, we have a simple example here. I want to remind you of the purpose of this podcast. We are looking at business problems data can fix, and the problems may look small, little, but they are actually real problems. Okay, and by looking at that, we are also helping you learn business logic, important calculations that go on in the business world that people are not talking about. Okay. We have the number of units sold for two products, right? We also have the selling price per unit of those products. We have the variable cost per unit of this product. If you've been following our episodes or our previous episodes, by now you will have known what the terminologies mean, basically what variable cost mean, what selling price, unit sold, and the rest mean. If you don't know, you could just look at our previous episode to understand what they mean. So before we go ahead, we want to look at the rule before us very well. We have two products. Product A, which is indeed the best-selling product here from the units sold so far. The company Johnson's and Sons have sold 2,000 units so far, and the second product B, 800 units so far. So product A can be said to be best-selling because of it has the highest sales volume, but that does not automatically make it the most valuable product. So we want to differentiate between the most selling or best selling and the most valuable product. Okay. Product A may have a low unit margin. Yeah. Why does it have a low unit margin? You can see the selling price is 4,000. The variable cost per unit is 3,200. This product costs 3,200 to make. So the margin between these will be subtracting 3,200 from the selling price. Okay, that will have a smaller margin compared to product B. You can see that, right? Then product B may sell fewer units, but its contribution per unit is much stronger. So it may contribute more profit, and it may even contribute more profit because of the margins. So that is what we want to determine now and see if our best selling product is actually hurting our business or our client's business, right? So let's look at this. First, we want to calculate revenue. And we said revenue will be our selling price per unit multiplied by unit sold, or the other way around, unit sold multiplied by selling price per unit. So we will say equals, okay, so unit sold multiplied by a selling price per unit. So that will give us the revenue for that. So the revenue for a best selling product is 8 million. So let us look at that for our second product, which is product B. We'll say equals units sold multiplied by what selling price per unit. So you can see we have 5.6 million. So from the revenue alone, we could say that product A, which is best selling, has a higher revenue compared to product B. But let's keep going. Let's determine the contribution per unit of each of these products, right? So the contribution per unit for each product will be taking away the variable cost from the selling price of that unit. So that will be equal. We take away, we'll say selling price of that unit is 4,000. We'll say take away the variable cost of that unit, right? So we'll say enter. So it's 800, right? That is a contribution per that unit for product A. What about for product B? We could say equals the selling price is 7,000 per unit. Then minus, let's remove the variable cost. That is the cost that what it cost us to make that unit. So we'll say, so you see, it's 2,800. So to determine the total contribution right? It's us saying that the contribution per unit multiplied by the total units sold. That will give us that total contribution per unit, okay? So we will say equals contribution per unit multiplied by the total units sold. Here, it was 2,000 units sold, okay? So we have 1.6 million, okay? For these, contribution per unit was 2,800 multiplied by the 800 units that was sold for that product. It enter. You can now see the difference coming out, right? You see where we have a higher revenue, but the contribution or total contribution is less than, or we even have lower revenue. That is why you see products that have low margins actually add very little to profit. For instance, let's say product A costs, example, I'm giving you this example now. In fact, as we even have it here, product A costs 3,200 to make. So the margin of profit here is so little because it's just about 800 naira on the variable cost or the cost of production. However, here you can see that it costs us 4,200 to make, but we are selling it at 7,000. So the margin on of the profit is indeed higher, even though just 800 units were sold. That is that as we progress, you're going to see the difference. So let's see the contribution share. Okay, we want to see the contribution share. To see the contribution share, we are going to look at the product total contribution divided by total contribution of all products. So we can see the share for product A and the share for product B. But that will mean that we have to determine what the denominator, which will be the total contribution of all products, right? So let's just calculate it here as equal. So sum, okay, open parenthesis, we want to add the contribution for product A and the contribution for product B, okay? So it gives us 3.84 million, okay? With this, we can easily calculate the contribution share, okay? So the contribution share is product total contribution, which is this contribution here. So say equals this contribution, right? And divide by what? Divide by the total contribution of all products, that is of both products that we are looking at. So it gives us 41.7. This is the contribution share of this product. So what about the contribution share of this other product? So product B will be the total contribution divided by our total contribution of all products. So you see, so you can see from here, you can see that it's easy for us to see that product B is our most valuable product. However, we sold more of product A. So product A can be called our best selling. Meanwhile, product B is our most valuable. And you can see the difference in revenue, right? Higher revenue, lesser margins, lower revenue, higher margins, yielded even more profit. You can see that, right? Okay. So see you next Wednesday, 6 p.m.